Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Brain Pulp TV. Welcome back to Magic Arena, and especially welcome back to Matt from Totalmtg. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You're keeping
Good.
safe and secure at home.
Yeah, on the lockdown over
Yeah,
in the UK, complete lockdown. Going out for walks once a day we're allowed, and occasionally to the shops if we have to. Where we need to get food in. But other than that, yep, all is well. All families well, and
excellent.
that's
Good.
that's all just the main thing.
It's good to hear. And because we've had so much extra time in our hands, Matt has actually come up with the idea that we create some brawl decks for ourselves, and that's what we're going to
Yeah,
be playing today. We're doing a best 2 out of 3 match, right?
yeah, we will battle some brawl, best of three.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll face off our two commanders.
So now we've done this so that we've both created 2 different brawl decks. So in this video, you're going to be seeing my favorite of the 2 that I created. And then there's going to be a video up on Matt's channel that are coming out in exactly the same time. So it's already up there. So when you're done watching this, definitely check out Matt's video if you haven't already. And we have no idea what decks the other person has created. So
No,
all
we
we
find
told each
out
other,
now.
yeah, we did our best to keep it a secret. We just told each other what the
Yeah.
converted mana cost was, and we were like, okay, they're definitely not the same decks then.
Yeah, that's all we had to check. Make sure we were going to both come out with the same decks against each other.
Now, we're each going to have a list of our decks in the description below, taking you to, I'm not sure what channel, but one of the, not channel, one a site or something like that, where we're going to have all the cards listed in both of our decks. Matt, did you just want to briefly talk about, give sort of an idea to the viewers as to what your decks is about?
Yeah, so I can say my commander now because obviously we're just about to play. My commander is Athreos, Shroud Veiled.
Ooh.
So it's a big 6 mana enchantment, indestructible 4/7 creature. Long as devotion to white, black is less 7. It isn't a creature though. But what it has on it, which is what I like about this one, is it's whenever a creature with a coin counter on. So what I have to do is at the beginning of my end step, put a coin counter on a target creature. So that can be mine or yours. If you've got creatures in your deck, of course. Whenever a creature with a coin count dies or put into exile, I return to the battlefield under my control.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So what I've got in there is cards with afterlife and everything like that. So when they die, they can come back, they can make their tokens and then come back and just do it all again. So general Orzhov, good stuff, lots of removal, planeswalkers, and then there'll be some fun stuff in there like divine visitation. So when I do the afterlife tokens, they don't come back as 1/1s, they come back as 4/4s.
Ouch.
Um, I know it's going to be fun. Seraph of the Scales, everything like that, putting those counters on. So if you've got nothing for me to put it on, my stuff's good enough to be put on, and then we start doing all this shenanigans. So that's
Well,
basically what my deck's about.
I definitely have creatures, so you're not going to have to worry about finding targets for coin counters. So we sort of
That's good.
talked a bit before we started recording, and for the video that I'm doing and the video that you're doing, we both have brawl decks which we don't think are the strongest of the 2 that we've created, but we enjoy the most because they're just
Yes.
like goofy in some way, I think, or like, just enjoyable. And so for this
Yeah.
one, I've decided to use Mizzet Reborn, the 5-color dragon, legendary creature.
Still
So
that, please.
now, I will be talking before we get into the matches. I will be giving sort of a more in-depth overview of this particular deck. The same thing that Matt will be doing with the Brawl deck that he's going to be using for his video on his channel. So I'll be doing that a little bit before we start playing, but I'm not really going to talk about it much now, other than the fact that with Niv Mizzet Reborn's power, or enter the battlefield ability, you can go through the top 10 cards of your library, and you can pick cards of any magic color pair, and you can pick one from each of those pairs and then add it to your hand or bring it into your hand, sort of thing. So you have the potential of drawing up to 10 cards with it. And I've loaded this deck up with, I think there's only, I don't think there is actually a single monocolored card in this deck. And I
Nice.
specifically, I at one point I was playing around with a little bit of like monocolored ramp and stuff like that, and I'm like, no, for the spirit of this deck, other than like Arcane Signet and the lands, there is nothing in this deck which isn't dual colored. So I'm kind of excited to see how well it plays. In my testing, it either does really well or unbelievably bad. So it should be some interesting matches no matter what happens. So
Yeah.
Matt, are you ready to jump into it?
I am ready to battle.
Oh, as well too, we are not going to be able to hear each other during the matches, correct?
We're not. We're just going to play that. So you'll be doing the commentary on yours, and then when there's videos on my channel, we'll be doing the commentary on mine.
Excellent. So you guys know now the ground rules, basically. We're going to get into the deck tech as far as this deck, and then we're going to get to the matches right after that. Okay, so here we are with the deck, and let's kick things off by talking about the commander. I talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about him again now. It is Mizzet Reborn. So it costs one of every color of the mana rainbow. It's a 6/6 with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each color pair, choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. Now, I like 5-color decks. I think they're fun to try to build around. They're difficult, but they're also very fun. One of my favorite commander decks right now is the Dragon commander deck, which is 5 colors. So I really wanted to do that with Brawl, even though this is not a top-tier Brawl deck. I don't even know what a top-tier Brawl deck is at this point. This is a fun challenge to myself type deck, and when it works great. When it doesn't, boy does it not work. But still, it's more of a fun deck. So this has got casual player written all over it. So if you're a casual player, you want to sort of mess around with Brawl, maybe you'll enjoy this deck. I'm not sure. But now we're going to go over each of the cards in the deck just briefly, and I sort of explain a bit of why some of them are there, as well as pointing out some of the cards which can easily be cut. Now, one of the things I'd like you guys to do when you're looking at this deck, when you're hearing the cards that I'm talking about, I want you to feel free to let me know in the comment section about cards that you think should be included in this deck. Now, I'm going to put one stipulation on that. I still want all the cards in this deck to be multicolored. There are several cards which are monocolored, which I think would be great in this deck, but that's sort of like the challenge I set up for myself with this, is that each of the cards needs to be multicolored. Now, they don't necessarily have to be of a colored pair. There's actually a few cards in this which aren't of colored pairs, even though they're multicolored, so they wouldn't get triggered by Mizzet. But I want to maintain this deck so that most of them are colored pairs. But still, be creative. If you think of anything that's cool, even from new upcoming sets, be sure to let me know in the comment section below, because I'd really like to tweak and improve this deck and just throw in a bunch of weird, wacky cards. Okay, so now that I've gone over that stipulation, let's go over each of the individual cards. We've got Dreadhorde Butcher, Zur-Ta Goblin, I think that's how it's pronounced, Sky Knight Vanguard, Bronzehide Lion, and Emra Soul of the Accord. Now, these are all 2-drop creatures. One of the things about this deck, because it's a bit difficult to get going, and it's a bit difficult to guarantee that you're going to get 5 colors to be able to play your commander and some of the other cards, is in early testing, I realized I needed a decent number of early game creatures to get on the board to compete with sort of like faster decks. A lot of aggro decks out there in Brawl, so I wanted a bunch of creatures which still had decent utility. Not all of them are like game-breaking cards. In fact, none of the 2-drops are really game-breaking cards, but just good, solid 2-drops to get on the board early and do some work against the opponent, or even just sort of like defend against a more aggro-style deck. And that's why these cards are here. Now, some of the other cards in this deck which have a CMC of 2 are Despark, Angrath's Rampage, and Assassin's Trophy. All these are removal. That's a very important thing I find with Brawl decks. Spot removal is great. Obviously, you're going to want some board wipes. I'm going to show you some of those that are going to be in this deck as well too in a little bit. But spot removal is really useful in Brawl because it takes care of your opponent's commander, or some of the bigger threats later on as well too, because a lot of Brawl decks can have some pretty crazy creatures that come out on it. But specifically, I like cheap removal when it comes to sort of spot removal, because it helps take care of a commander, and then it's going to cost your opponent 2 more to get out on the board. I know it ruins my day when other players do it to me with this commander, because it's going to cost me 7 to bring it out again. So I find these cards to be really useful. Now, Assassin's Trophy, I'm still sort of on the fence about this. One of the reasons is that, especially if you're playing against a Brawl deck where their commander costs a lot to get out, Assassin's Trophy, I think, is normally quite great. It goes after any of your opponent's permanents. But the fact that they do get that extra land can also sort of like tip the scales a bit, because there's been times where I haven't wanted to use Assassin's Trophy to remove a threat, because I know it's going to give them that 1 additional land they need to recast their commander or cast their commander for the first time. So I still think it's great removal. I'm still not entirely sure that this is the best removal for this deck. Now, the other 2 costed cards in this deck are Arcane Signet. Now, this is especially useful in a deck that runs 5 colors. It's a great mana rock to have in pretty much any Brawl deck. I think it's pretty much an auto-include for Brawl decks. And then, technically, a 2-cost creature, Hydroid Krasis. Now, this card is great. It draws you cards. It gains you a bit of life. It's got flying. It's got trample. Overall, just a great card to have in a deck, which really benefits from multicolored pairs. So moving on now to cards that cost 3 in this deck, we've got Leyline Prowler. Now, again, this is another great card for a 5-color deck because you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. It's also a pretty decent creature for 3, Death Touch, and Lifelink. In fact, I wish I had more creatures in this deck, which I could tap for any color. If there is any suggestions you have out there, given the stipulations I gave you guys before, please let me know in the comments section below because I'm sure I missed something which should be in this deck. Next, we have Klothys, God of Destiny. No idea if I'm pronouncing that even close to correct. This is one of the cards which doesn't have to be in this deck. I mean, some of the gods that have that sort of devotion trigger I think are useful in this because you can get just about any type of devotion trigger eventually with this deck, but this is one of the cards that you could probably cut fairly easily if you wanted to. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. This is a card you don't want to cut from this deck. I think this is a great card to begin with, and it's especially useful in this deck, I find. Now, all the rest of the 3-costed cards are going to be non-creature cards. We've got Lawmage's Binding, which is a nice bit of removal. We've got Mortify, which is another nice bit of removal. Ionize, which is the only counterspell, I believe, in this deck. I think at one point I was going to have the Frilled Mystic in this deck as well, too. I'm not sure why I cut that. Maybe I'll have to revisit that one day. But Ionize, it's the only counterspell, and I just love counterspells, so I had to include at least one in here. Royal Scions, another card which you could cut. I like the design of this card, so I've included it in here. Role Reversal. Now, there is another card which I'll be talking about a bit, which makes Role Reversal kind of questionable in this deck, but I love this card in this deck because there's been plenty of times where I've been able to create a token of a creature and swap it out for one of my opponent's better creatures, so I really kind of like this card in this deck. Now, we also have Bedevil, more removal. Rhythm of the Wild. If you get this out early, with this deck especially, pretty much with any deck that can run it, it can do amazing work for you. So creature spells you control can't be countered, and non-token creatures you control have Riot. Great abilities, cheap enchantment. Once again, if you can get this out in turn 3, it's going to be awesome for your deck. Moving on, we have the last 3-costed card. It is Deafening Clarion. So you can choose either to have it deal 3 damage to each creature, or creatures you control gain lifelink until the end of turn, or you can choose them both, which can be useful as well too. So this is a mini sort of board wipe. It can also bring you back from the brink of death. Once again, this deck can sometimes take a little while to get going. You can be a bit low on life, but you can eventually build up a decent number of creatures on the board or have some very large creatures on the board. So a lot of the time, I haven't used this for its deal 3 damage ability. I've used it for the lifelink ability to give me a bit more survivability. That's a lot of abilities at that point in the game where I'm running a bit low and I'm just starting to get things going on my end. Okay, moving on now to the 4-cost cards. We have Pelucranos, which I believe is the pronunciation. Pelucranos Unchained. It's a great card. I love its abilities. I love the fact that it has Escape. Escape is such a wonderful mechanic, and with this card especially, it's really, really great. Especially late in the game when you have an abundance of mana, you can actually bring it back from the graveyard using the Escape ability and still have enough up for its Fight ability, which is absolutely wonderful. Storav, once again, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing any of these correctly. This is an interesting card. I have this card in just specifically for the fact that it can bring cards from my graveyard into my hand. I think that's useful late game. Still, this is one of those cards that you may want to cut. It's not super useful, and in much the same vein as that, we have the Golgari Findbroker, which does the exact same thing, only does it once, and that's it. And this is another card which you could probably cut from this deck, and there's probably any number of better cards that you can include. The other thing about these cards is that they both require double black. Now, for the most part, other than, I believe, Bedevil was the only other card. Yeah, this requires double black as well, too. I tried to stay away from a lot of cards that required double of one particular color. It's just much easier with a 5-color deck to stick to cards that only require one of each color or one of a couple colors sort of thing. But doubling up as far as the colors go, it's only for cards that have decent abilities. Now, Golgari Findbroker may not really fit into that mold, but still, I like the idea of being able to grab some stuff from my graveyard and use it again. Now, the final 4-cost card we have is Kaya's Wrath. It's the first board wipe I'm showing you here. It's a decent board wipe. It only costs 4, but once again, it's double white, double black. Still, by the time you need it, you shouldn't have too much trouble having that available to you. Destroy all creatures. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you control that were destroyed this way. Very rarely do I really gain much life out of this card. Usually, it's just sort of to catch up with my opponent, because a lot of the times I'm playing against opponents that have much quicker decks when it comes to getting creatures on the board, and this is just a nice way of wiping the board, resetting it, and giving me a bit more time to get my stuff going. Now with the 5-cost cards, we have Trostani Discordant. I have, once again, no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. For 3, a green and a white, you get a 1/4 legendary Dryad creature. All other creatures you control get +1/+1. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, each player gains control of all creatures they own. This can be really useful against certain decks. There are a lot of decks which will, have some way of stealing your creatures, and the only downside in this deck with this particular card is, as we saw before, role reversal. So exchange control of 2 target permanents that share a permanent type. Now, I have accidentally played this card forgetting I had used role reversal early in the game and given my opponent back one of their creatures. It sucks. It happens. It actually makes for kind of a funny little moment sometimes, but yeah, so just be careful of that. That's the one thing where this doesn't really jive with role reversal. There aren't many cards in this deck that don't really, work with other cards in the deck, but this is definitely one you have to watch out for. Next up, we have Rini, Angel of Rebirth. Now, this is one of the few cards, actually, I believe there's only 3 cards in this deck other than lands that won't get a hit from Mizzet. This is 3 colors, so it's red, green, and white, plus 2 of whatever for a 5/4 Angel. It's got flying. Other multicolored creatures you control get +1/+0, which is one of the reasons why I have it in the deck. But the biggest reason I have this in the deck is whenever another multicolored creature you control dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. That ability made putting this card in the deck very useful in my opinion. And for all the times that I haven't been able to grab it with Niv Mizzet, there's been more times where I've had it on the battlefield and it's done amazing work because just look, all of the other creatures are multicolored. So it has a lot of use in this deck, even though once again, it doesn't quite work with Niv Mizzet the way other cards do. Next, we have Time Wipe, one of the other board wipes in this deck, and this is really useful. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. So one of the great things about this card is that you can actually target your commander and bring it back to your hand instead of sending it to the command zone, because there's times where you've played your commander a couple times, you no longer have the mana to play it again if it does die and go to the command zone. This way, you can cheat it back into your hand, and it's only going to cost you 5 to pay directly from your hand. So Time Wipe, great board wipe. I love this card, and I like it in this deck. And moving on now to the last 5-costed card, we have Nicol Bolas, Dragon God. Now this is the last card that we have in this deck, which does not work with Niv Mizzet's ability because it costs a blue, 3 black, and then a red. It's one of the more difficult ones to cast from this particular deck because it does cost triple black and 2 other colors, but still, it's a decent card. You could probably cut this. And if you have, once again, any other suggestions as to what I could replace Nicol Bolas with, please let me know. But yeah, it's just a useful planeswalker to have on the board because of its abilities and the little bit of extra fun you can have with the fact that you can use loyalty abilities of other planeswalkers on the battlefield as well too. Next up, we have Find and Finality. Find, being able to grab some stuff for your graveyard, can be really great. Finality, being used as a sort of pseudo board wipe, can be useful as well too. So I like this card. I like the fact that it has a lot of flexibility to it. Niv Mizzet Perrin. Now this is in here because of the flavor. 3 blue and 3 red in this particular deck is not the easiest most of the time. There's been plenty of times where I've had this card in my hand. I'll admit it's just been a dead card because of what it costs to cast. But I did not want to have a Niv Mizzet Reborn deck without one of the older Niv Mizzets as well too. So you can easily cut this card. Don't worry about it. If you don't want to keep this in the deck, if you think it's silly, you can get rid of it. I put it in here for flavor purposes only. Next up, we have Garruk, Cursed Huntsman. Now, he costs a lot, but I like the fact that he is removal. He also adds some creatures onto the board. Overall, I think he's a pretty cool planeswalker as well, too. So once again, you could probably cut him with something better. But if you do, just let me know what you replace him with, because once again, I want to improve this deck as much as possible or play around with it as much as possible. So any sort of suggestions you have of cutting Garruk and putting something else in, let me know. And then the final non-land card we have in the deck is Casualties of War. Now, once again, this is another card which requires double of a couple colors, but I think with this particular card, it is worth it. It has a lot of flexibility. Choose one or more. Destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, destroy target enchantment, destroy target land, destroy target planeswalker. There are plenty of times I've been able to cast this card and use at least 4 of the 5 abilities. So this is a great bit of removal with a lot of flexibility as far as what it removes. And this is something, even though once again, it's double colors for both black and green, I don't see cutting this from the deck anytime soon. So yeah, that is it for all the non-land cards. Now, as far as the lands go, we have a single swamp and a single forest. Now, you don't have to have a single swamp and a single forest. In fact, if you're going to be playing Niv Mizzet Perrin, you might want to actually swap these two out with an additional island and an additional mountain. I put in the swamp and the forest because there's a lot of double green, double black in this deck, and I thought that might be useful. Now, the only other reason I included 2 basic lands in this particular deck is the few times I've run into people running Assassin's Trophy or some other card which forces me to destroy something and then grab a basic land. Not having a basic land when those things go off gives them no downside whatsoever to that removal. So I did put a couple of extra lands, basic lands, in this deck. However, you do not need to do that just for those very rare instances. It's just something I ended up doing in the end, but still, if you want to just go with straight dual lands for the entire deck, you can. And speaking of dual lands, this is what we have in this deck. We have Hallowed Fountain, Temple of Enlightenment, Godless Shrine, Scoured Barrens, Temple of Silence, Temple of Deceit, Watery Grave, Steam Vents, Swiftwater Cliffs, Temple of Epiphany, Blood Crypt, Bloodfell Caves, Temple of Malice, Overgrown Tomb, Temple of Malady, Stomping Ground, Temple of Abandon, Sacred Foundry, Temple of Triumph, Temple Garden, Temple of Plenty, Breeding Pool, Temple of Mystery, and finally, Command Tower. Now, obviously, Command Tower would be like an auto-include in pretty much any Brawl or Commander deck. The Temple cards in this particular deck are great because they really allow you to constantly scry and hopefully grab maybe one of the missing colors you don't currently have. That's really why I have all those temples in there, aside from the fact that the dual lands and they're useful in that sense, but they've been so useful for me to sort of like weed out the top of my deck early on and try to find the land that I need, and then as well too later on to weed out land from the top of my deck when I have the land base I now need and I want to find answers and creatures and threats instead. So there you go, folks. That is the overview of this deck. Once again, as I mentioned before, this is not supposed to be a top tier Brawl deck. It's a very sort of fun, casual type deck, but any improvement you can think of, please let me know in the comment section because I'd really love to keep tinkering with this deck and playing with it more. Maybe even making this in paper, though that would probably end up costing a lot because there's a lot of rares and a lot of mythics in this deck, but still, that might be something I'll do in the future as well too and transfer this to paper. But for now, we just have it on Arena, so let's get some Arena gameplay right now. Okay, so here we are with my opening hand. For this deck, this is not bad. Now, pretty much every single land I have in this deck is a dual land. This gives me green, red, black, or blue, so I'm just missing white. I do have a couple of things with white, Bedevil. Maybe I should let this one go. You know what? These are all scry lands. No, not all scry lands. 2 of them are scry lands, so I'm actually going to keep this because I can scry some sort of white source to the top, so we're going to give this a shot. It's the best 2 out of 3 as well, too, so if it doesn't go off, it's not the end of the world. We do have another crack at it. Okay, so we're going to do Temple of Abandon. And there we go. We got our white source. So we're going to leave that on top. And now we shouldn't really have to worry. We have all the different sources we need. Okay, and we are going to do actually the Temple as well too to see if I can scry. I wouldn't mind. I was going to say I wouldn't mind another land on top. So there we go. So now on turn 5, we can get Niv Mizzet out if we want to. Now this deck typically does poorly against super aggro decks. Okay, well, I was going to say, I was hoping it was in a super aggro deck, so during your turn, spells your opponent's cast cost. Okay, so this shouldn't be a huge deal for us. Now, do I want to get rid of that? It's got Afterlife 1 as well, too. I mean, I could... I can't really Law Mage's Binding. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do another Scry to see what's on top. I'm going to save the Temple, not the Temple. I'm going to save Steam Vents for when I absolutely need to bring in a land untapped. You know what? Time Wipe? I'll do Time Wipe. Time Wipe's pretty good in this deck. I don't have a second white source yet, but that should be fine. So next turn I can get up to 4 mana. I can't do Bedevil because that requires 2 black. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to do the Cliffs. Now I could do... No, I can't do the Cliffs. I can't do a Law Mage's Binding because I need blue and white source, so... no, it should be fine. This should be fine. I'm not too worried about taking... I mean, you start off at 25, so I'm not too worried about taking 2 damage the first little bit, so... I'm more worried about when he's able to get his commander out. Okay, so Seraphis Scales. Oh, Ionize can be good for us. Let's go ahead and... I have this up for Ionize now. I would like to be able to take care of that. I still can't Bedevil. I can't Nicol Bolas. I can bring this out, though, if I want to. That may not be a bad idea. I mean, I'm expecting removal almost immediately. But that may be better than holding up for Ionize, because he's still 2 off from being able to cast his commander. So let's do Steam Vents. Let's pay the 2 life. And I'm going to bring out the Angel here. The Angel of Rebirth. Once again, I mean, chances are that he's got some sort of removal in hand, and that's, you know, kind of unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. Yep, murder. Straight up murder. That's unfortunate. So I'll be taking another 6 here. Not what I want to see, but I may Law Mage's Binding here. Actually... Oh, I mean, I'd rather be able to bring this out when I can immediately fight with it. So it's either Niv Mizzet and then sort of like get rid of some of the stuff like Nicol Bolas that I can't use right now and Time Wipe and look for some other stuff, or Law Mage's Binding on this and just sort of slow down the clock a bit. You know what? That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna Binding this. So it can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. So again, that's slowing down the clock. Still 1 off from being able to cast his commander. If I can get another white source, I can just Time Wipe immediately, which would be great. So he's in the think tank a little bit here. Ooh, okay. This can be so powerful in decks. Okay, so we do have one of the white sources. That's great. So now, whenever another creature dies or a creature is put into the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So if I do end up Time Wiping here, that is going to create 3 1/1 flyers as well too, which is not the greatest for me. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to, and I'd be taking 2 if I'm going to have this come into play untapped. I could also just Niv Mizzet, and then go from there, which may not be the worst idea. I think I'm going to bring this in tapped, enters tapped, and then I'm going to see what I can grab with Niv Mizzet. Okay, so Find Finality can be really good. It's basically another sort of board wipe. And I have to choose between these 2. So that's one of the things with this deck. I have to choose between these 2. I am going to choose Find Finality. And then the rest I'm just going to have go into... This is... Rhythm of the Wild is really great in this deck. The Royals, whatever. But still. I'm going to have to discard some cards here. But I think... What do I have in my graveyard now? I just have 1 in my graveyard. I don't want to get rid of... I think I might as well get... I mean... It's unfortunate to get rid of Bedevil, but I don't have double black, so I'm actually going to get rid of Bolas, because that's going to be too long before I can cast it, and I'm going to get rid of Bedevil, because I just don't have the double black sources for that. So everything else I have mana for. Oh, that's rough. So I'm taking 7 here. Everything he has Afterlife. Oh, this is so bad for me. Okay. I think this is going to just end up killing me. Okay, so we do get to scry 1. Do we need another land? I mean, now we get our second black source, right? But I don't... You know what? I'm going to put that... Yeah, I'll keep that on top. I think we're dead here anyways, because if I go ahead and Time Wipe... If I go ahead and Time Wipe, he's going to create 1, 2, 3, 4 flyers. I'm going to be taking 4 here. Yeah, I think I just don't think I got a quick enough start. So, yeah, I'm going to Find Finality. And the triggers, yeah, that's going to pretty much be the end of me here. Oh, no. So, yeah, not quite able to get ahead of this. I would have loved to have been able to get rid of the creature before, but the second that knight came down, yeah. And he gets his commander out. He swings in for lethal. Okay, so sadly, that was not the best showing. We do sort of have a good idea as to what is going on in his deck now, so I have a better idea as to what I might want to keep. And sadly, with this deck, the important things to keep at the very beginning are the lands, as many of the dual lands as you can get to that 5 colors. So I will probably keep a similar hand like that if it just has a decent amount of dual lands in it, but I may be a little bit more picky than I was before. Okay, so second, this, you know what, this is great. This is good for us. Rhythm of the Wild is extremely good for this deck right off the bat. We have all the mana for it. This is a keep. This is definitely a keep, and it's going to give us a bit of a quicker start as well too. So let's go ahead and we're going to, what's important for us? We want a black source out there right away. So we're going to do this scribe. We're going to keep that on top. So we may be able to do a little bit better than we did last time, which is great for us. I'm going to Temple of Silence as well too. Now this time we can actually keep Bolas, and Bolas is going to do work for us. So yeah, I'm going to keep Bolas on top. Between Bolas and Garruk, we're going to have some creature destruction. Do I want to bring in a tap? I don't think I do. I think I actually want to get... I think I want to get the Prowler out. No, you know what? I want to get Rhythm of the Wild out. So let's do that. He's not playing blue, so I don't have to worry about counter spells. It may be more difficult for him to get rid of enchantments than it was for him to get rid of creatures. Okay, so here I can bring out... I can't bring out both, but I can bring this out and give it a +1/+1 counter, which will prevent that from being able to attack. I don't want to bring that out yet. I'll bring this out. Scry 1. Casualties of War, I'm definitely keeping on top. And then we'll bring out the Vanguard. And we're not going to give it haste. We're going to give it a +1/+1 counter. We could give it haste and swing in, but this... Oh, that can't block as well, too. So I might have wanted to do that, but at least now I have something to block this with. Though I don't even know if I'm necessarily going to block it. But I do have that option at least. I don't know what he has in the way of pump spells. Cavalier of Night. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target an opponent. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Now, Casualties of War, I'm not sure. Do I want to... I think I just go ahead and bring this out. If I bring this out, this will give me 3 black sources. I won't have a blue source. 2 black, 2 green, and I just have 1 of whatever. You know what? I think here I'm going to have it pay 2 life. Oh, I still don't have a blue source, so I can't cast my commander. I'm going to have this enter tapped. I'm going to bring out the Prowler. And I'm going to give it... I'm going to give it a +1/+1 counter, because giving a haste isn't going to do anything. Now, this has lifelink, which sucks, but it is what it is. Okay, so his commander is now out. And it's got a coin counter on it, so that's unfortunate as well, too. Now, this is destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, destroy target enchantment. You know what? I think I'm going to bring out Garruk here. Yeah, and then destroy target creature and draw a card. Okay, so destroy target creature and then draw a card, so I'm going to destroy that. And I get to draw a card. Krasis is great, especially with something like this, because if he takes control of it, or whenever a creature with a coin counter dies, put in exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. So this would return as a 0/0, which means he's not going to be able to take advantage of it. And now we're going to use Casualties of War, because we definitely want to get rid of that. I think we're going to do better. We may not win this one, but we're going to do better than we did last time. Which is very, very useful. So this is Artifact, Creature, Enchantment, Land, and Planeswalker. Okay, so bring out the Barons, gain a life. Now, this is indestructible, so destroying it is not going to do anything anyways. So here we're going to do this. And we're going to destroy target land, enchantment, creature, and artifact. So now I need to choose the creature. I'll choose that, even though it's going to come back to his control. Choose the target enchantment, and we're going to choose the target land. Might as well choose the one that's untapped. Actually, I might have wanted to take out his white source, now that I think about it. But... yeah, I probably should have taken out one of the planes. as opposed to the untapped land. This still guts him quite a bit. But, he's got limited cards in hand. He has the Cavalry and Knight in his hand, which is fine. We still have more removal. Now, granted, this is still my only blue source, which I'm worried about. I did not... You know what? Maybe I should just cast something that required blue at that point. I definitely need a blue source. Or... do I just go ahead and Finality here? I have the mana for it. I mean, it doesn't get rid of that, though. That's the only thing. Oh, man. I don't really have much else in the way of choices other than bringing out the Vanguard. Not having a blue source right now is absolutely gutting me. And it's not even like I have double blue. I have everything this requires one blue. Oh, it's so rough. Finality, that's going to keep that there. He's going to be able to put a coin on that, which is going to allow him to return it. Whenever a creature with a coin counter on it dies or is put into exile, return the card to the battlefield under your control. So he can just return that back to his control again. I think I have to wait. I have to wait and try to... because he's going to be gaining 4 life. I'm going to be taking 6. I really need something here. Yeah, this is unfortunate. I can't cast... Of course I catch something with blue. I'm going to have to do this right now. It's not going to be able to do much for me, but at the very least it's going to turn Athreos off because he's no longer going to have the devotion he needs. Oh, never mind. That's not going to matter either. So... oh, man. I can't believe I don't have a single blue source. This is so painful. No. I could not get a blue source in that second game. No. I had Nicol Bolas. Yeah. I had Uro. I had the Hydroid Krasis. And I had Niv Mizzet.
Yeah.
And then my commander, which also required a blue. I was just like, oh no, because once you took control of what's his name, the mana dork or the mana, yeah, I was like, I don't have a blue source, but it's fine. I'm sure I'll draw into something. Nothing at all. So, oh, that was really unfortunate. Okay, so because those matches or those games were pretty quick, we ended the match fairly soon. Matt was kind enough to allow a third exhibition match to sort of give you guys a bit more content with this video. This looks promising. We do have access to most colors. We have the Signet. We also will be able to use Bedevil. We can use Role Reversal using these colors. So yeah, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this. So we'll see how this goes this time. Okay, so let's go ahead and... any of these can scry? Nope, so I'm just going to gain the 2 life. The other 2 I can bring out by taking a bit of pain if I want them to come out untapped. There's no real reason for that right now. You know what? Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pay 2 life so I can get the Signet out quick. And that's going to give us access to 4 mana, up to 4 mana next turn. Okay, another one of his afterlife creatures. Let's do Temple of Triumph, because this way we get to scry. We're going to put that on top, because that should give us access to everything, and we should be able to get Mizzet out fairly soon. And the turn... so I can Bedevil, I can also Assassin's Trophy, so I have some removal up right away. Do I want to take 2 from this? Sorry, target artifact creature. You know, I think I want to keep this. Do I want to keep this? Nah. Let's just go ahead and... nah, let's... no. We're gonna... you know what we are? We're not gonna do this. We're not gonna jump the gun. We're not gonna jump the gun. Sometimes I use removal way too early. Oh, okay. Everything he has afterlife, which is super tricky for me. So if I bring this out, Is that all the colors I need? Or do I need to bring this out? I think I need to bring this out, right? And then I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can bring Niv Mizzet out. Do I want to bring Niv Mizzet out so early? You know what? I think I do. Pay 2 life. Let's go ahead and Niv Mizzet now. I mean, Niv Mizzet, even on its own, is a 6/6. So we can keep all this because I want to keep Rhythm of the Wild. Ionize might be a little bit better than roll. You know what? Yeah, I think I have to make the choice between these two. I'm going to go with Rhythm of the Wild. Okay, let's get rid of the Find Broker. Part of me wants to get rid of Assassin's Trophy as well, too. But Assassin's Trophy might be pretty good. Let's get rid of Amara. Actually, Amara is going to be pretty good with Rhythm of the Wild. So, yeah, I'm going to get rid of Shrine. And let's get rid of Bedevil. There we go. I mean, we had to get rid of a lot of stuff there, but that's perfectly fine. I'm willing to do that to get a bit of an early start on this. Right now, he's got nothing that can block by air. He does have removal in this deck. I mean, it's a black and white deck, so there's tons of removal in it. Okay, so Sorin. That's fine. Okay, taking a damage. He might swing in here? No, okay, he's not going to swing in here. So here, I mean, Hydroid Crassus might be good. I think I'm going to Assassin's Trophy this, though. To get rid of Sorin. Yeah, let's do... If I do this, I can still Assassin's Trophy, correct? Yeah, okay, so we're going to Rhythm of the Wild. And then we're going to attack Sorin by air. Get rid of Sorin. Might be better off doing the damage to him, but I like to get Sorin off the board. Yeah, so I didn't think that would be too long for this world, but it's still okay. It's still okay. Let's go ahead and we're going to give her haste. Going to attack. We're going to create a counter. And now we have a really great target with role reversal here. Okay, so it's going to Afterlife 1. That's fine. Now my hope is he's not going to bother wasting any removal on the 1/1 token, and then he plays something that I can really do some work with role reversal on. If he does attack with the 2/1, I'm probably going to do it as well too, because I'd rather him have a bunch of flyers. Okay. So now I think we Crisis here, so I'll be able to create a 3/3 and auto pay. So with blue, green, and then 3 others, yeah, auto pay. There we go. For a second, I didn't think I had it. We'll give it... You know, we're going to give it haste. We're going to bring this out. We're going to have it enter tap because it's not going to do anything for us anyways. And I'm going to... Should I mean, maybe I attack with this. I don't know. But I'm definitely going to attack with this. So we'll swing in with the Crisis here. I'm waiting for a slightly better creature that I can end up role reversaling on. Yeah, okay. I may end up desparking that. So... Cliffs. Gain a life. 2 blockers. What's the next thing of this? Is non-creature spells your opponent cast cost 2 more to cast until your next turn. Let's go ahead and bring out Garrick. And I think I'm actually going to create 2 wolves.
cannot run or hide.
I think this is fine. See if he blocks. No blocks. Okay. Ugh, that's rough. But I can dispark that, which is I think is important. Yeah, let's put both of these in front of him. It's going to lose 2 loyalty and then gain 2 loyalty. Then what we can do is... Do we have enough to despark and then... Oh, everything's going to cost 2 more, that's right. So if I'm going to time wipe, I need to pay 6. So you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to despark. Because this is going to return creature card or permanent card from the graveyard. You know what? Cancel that. What do I want to do? I can Assassin's Trophy that as well, too. It's going to cost me 4. First, we're going to play at the Temple of Plenty. That's happening no matter what. I can actually leave that on top. We can time wipe. And then I can Garrick. There we go. So he's going to be able to bring a creature. Okay, or Planeswalker. That's right. That's right as well too. And then next turn I can Assassin's Trophy and despark those 2, which I think should be good. Okay, so he's going to despark as well. Ooh, okay. Okay. Yeah. See what he chooses. He's not going to choose Sacrifice. That's quite obvious. Each player... Okay. So, from here... Let's go ahead and despark that. I'm going to... swing in with those 2 onto that.
You will become dust.
Roll reversal. Those 2. His commander takes 6. 1, 2, 3. He's got enough for it. I'm actually going to hold up Assassin's Trophy for that, even though because it's indestructible, so it's not going to matter. Now I wish I brought that out sooner. I'm just going to end the turn. I'm just going to end the turn. That's fine. He's probably wondering what is taking him so long to decide to do something, so... I'm still not doing good, but I think I'm doing a bit better than I have in some of the previous ones. Okay, yeah, I knew this was coming out. That's unfortunate. Now, what is he going to put? I do have something that allows me to exile. Okay. That's fine. Imagine he's swinging in. That's fine. What is he going to put a point? Yeah, that makes sense. I can take that out with these 2, so I don't have to worry about that. So I don't have to worry about using Assassin's Trophy. Yeah, we're not going to use Assassin's Trophy. So what we'll do instead is Krasis. Do I Krasis that, or I swing in with both of those? Now, this is only when it deals combat damage to a player. Choose any number of these things. So maybe I am better off. You know what? Let's do this. No, let's not do that. Let's start spending some mana. I want to leave up for Ionize and Assassin's Trophy. We'll get rid of Sorin. Oops. I forgot that had haste, so we're gonna forget that happened. But I'm still gonna leave up for Ionize and Assassin's Trophy. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't attack with that. If you control a god or demigod enchantment, you gain 1 life. I don't think I really care about that. That's fine. I'm gonna let that resolve. I can always Assassin's Trophy that if I want to. That we can Ionize. Pass. He's gonna swing in, that's fine. No blocks. You know what, let's just... Should we Assassin's Trophy that? Nah. Pass. Let's go put that on the Butcher, that makes sense. And then next... Next, I'm going to get him to each player discards a card. Each player sacrifices a creature. Right? Each player sacrifices a creature. Discard a card. I will discard. I'm actually going to discard Wrath. Kaya's Wrath. And sacrifice a creature. I'm going to discard you. Or sacrifice you. Let that resolve. And then we're just going to do this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we get to play a Lifeland. We get a little bit of extra life, so. Cavalier of Dawn. This is fine. So, when it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target non-permanent. Alright. When it dies, return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. This is fine. Surprised he's not doing that on Cavalier of Dawn. But that is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to Assassin's Trophy this. He's going to return that to his hand. That's fine. Do this. We're going to give him haste. And we're going to bring this out to give everything +1/+1. We're going to attack all. 4 attackers. We're going to have him, each player discards a card. I think we can get rid of Deafening. Okay, that's, yeah, I figured that was going for that. That's fine. Now, luckily I can block this. I actually forgot that this was his card. And that was going to return to him, because I was thinking, oh, well, if he takes control of one of my creatures, I'll just get it back. Completely forgetting that that was his. I think we're still in a good position here. Swinging with that. Okay, and we'll see the modes he chooses. It's not going to make me sacrifice a creature because then he'd have to... Well, no, because he can get that back, right? Yeah, each player sacrifices a creature. That's fine. Discard a card. Now, the Scions might be useful. And I can bring this back. So what do I have in the graveyard? Yeah, I can actually bring this back. Do I have enough to bring this back for... Because it costs 6 to bring back, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it'll cost 3 more in order to use its ability, so we can actually do that if we needed to. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Put that into the graveyard. Sacrifice a creature, I'll obviously sacrifice one of those. This is fine. This is still fine. Okay, so now, this, we can bring out this. So get rid of that. Assassin's Trophy, Wrath, Ionize into Spark. And Bedevil. Submit 6. So we're going to get rid of that. That should bring that back into his hand. We'll attack with all. Oh my goodness. So we did eke out a victory, which was kind of nice. So it was nice of... it was so nice of Matt to give me a chance to redeem this deck a little bit. So
that was a great match, that was, wasn't it?
I forgot... what's his name? Rankle? I forgot, I forgot he originally belonged to you. I thought I was being so crafty by bringing out the creature that returns, like the creatures to their owner's control afterwards. I was like, oh, this is going to be great, because now if he takes out one of my creatures, it's just going to come back to me. And then when I saw him fly to your side of the board, I was like, that's right. That was his. So yeah, I'm glad that didn't punt it, punt the game completely away. But I really appreciate you allowing me to do this. So,
that was really cool.
Yeah, this was a fun game. So.
Very fun game. I really enjoyed that one. I really got to see both decks a bit there as well. So it was really cool.
But keep in mind, Matt is definitely the winner of this best 2 out of 3. So, well, I really enjoyed it. I was glad we were able to do this again. And once again, there is going to be another Brawl match up on Matt's channel right now. Yeah. So be sure to go over there, check it out. Like the video, give him a subscribe if you haven't already checked out his channel and subscribe to the channel. Definitely show Matt some love. Because Matt, once again, I really enjoy playing Magic Arena with you. We said this.
We have such good fun.
Yeah, we had said it in the last one. It's so much more fun to play with someone you know, like play with a friend on Magic Arena. So this was again one of the most fun bits of Magic Arena I've had while losing. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
And if people want to see more Brawl, just put the commanders you want us to build around in the comments. Maybe put them down there.
Yeah, and
then we can just build around. Choose which one you want us to play. Go, I'm a blue mage, so you can choose the complete opposite to that if you want.
That's
well,
the only good
blue as
thing
well,
about
though,
this.
Didn't you? So,
yeah, the only good thing about this is, like, I think I even said it during the game. Like, well, at least Matt's not playing blue, so I don't have to worry about anything getting countered quite yet. So, but yeah, that was this has been a lot of fun, Matt. And this is something we are definitely going to be doing. I mean, we almost immediately after we did our previous ones, which were the Challenger decks, we started making plans to do another match. It got delayed a little bit, but I mean, I think we both have a little bit of extra time in our hands now. So you can look out for more of these videos, hopefully in the near future. So, Matt, thank you again. And anything you want to say before we head off?
No, just everyone keep safe. Hope you really enjoy the videos. Let us know more what you want to see. And we'll be back very soon for some more gameplays.
Sounds good. Matt, take care. And we'll see all of you again in the next video.